very familiar with. Facebook is probably one of the best known platforms. There are some pros and cons. Facebook is easy to use for one-to-one email. It's easy to set up a group. It's easy to publish events. The problem is Facebook is very distracting. You log on to Facebook and there's a bazillion things competing for your attention. And when you want people to find your club, unless they're going there to look for your club specifically, they're probably not going to find it. Now, if you have a very active Facebook group that maybe your club started, or you started as a caller with your groupies, because all callers have groupies. And if you don't have a groupie, I'll sell them for $10 for a dozen. Maybe you have a Facebook group where people can come to it easily, and you can set up events on the Facebook page, people to respond to. Yes, I'm coming. No, I'm not. Am I moving too much for the camera? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just repositioning you.
Okay. Get my flattering angle. If you can find one, I'll pay you $20. So that's Facebook. We also have Yahoo Groups. Yahoo Groups is going away probably pretty soon. A lot of clubs in the Bay Area use it. Yahoo Groups is free, as is Facebook. But Yahoo is being acquired by Verizon. And we're not sure what this is going to look like when they're done. The new service is going to be called Oath, O-A-T-H, as in I take the oath. Yahoo Groups is free. It's reliable, but it can be very confusing to set up. Google has its own set of email groups called Google Groups. Again, it's free and reliable. You don't have to have a Google account to use it. But again, the setup can be a little daunting the first couple times. There are plenty of online guides to help, or you can find your nearest 8-year-old and he or she can help you. MailChimp, we're going to talk about a little more extensively. And in fact, I'm going to have Janine do a demo of MailChimp because she is very familiar with the software. This is one of several types of commercial applications designed for business-to-business communication. Most of these systems, there are quite a few listed, and they're in the handout as well, are free up to a certain number of messages. So MailChimp, for example, up to 2,000 subscribers or 12,000 emails a month is free. If you're sending more than 12,000 emails, you don't need e-communications. you don't need us anyway. So this is fine for most people. It looks a little complicated at first. They have lots of templates and ways to help you. And I'm looking forward to having Janine do a quick demo of this. And we're going to go into the slides pretty quickly so we can concentrate more on demos and interactive questions and answers. There are many types of email list management products. There are commercial products, there are shareware products. Some of them require a 12-year-old rather than an 8-year-old. And you could use something like Gmail or any commercial email provider on a one-to-one basis, but it's very cumbersome to manage the list. So using something like MailChimp, I am not affiliated with MailChimp. I do not sell MailChimp. I receive no compensation for endorsing MailChimp. Neither does Janine. Just what we happen to be familiar with as one of many tools. Because we were told in the moderator session, don't endorse anybody if it's going to benefit you personally. In this case, it'll benefit us just by not having to answer more questions. So MailChimp, and we're going to go through this, each of these. This is just some sample setup screens, and this is in the handout. So MailChimp looks something like this. Templates, what do you want to put in your template for the email you're producing? Produces very pretty graphic emails. Google Groups is a little more techy. It's more like fill in the blank. And that brings us to websites, because this is more of an interactive session than a talk session. So there are traditional websites and prepackaged websites. A traditional website is something where you sit down and you code something with HTML and you have to debug it yourself and make it work. Prepackaged websites will give you web hosting. Usually it's on a per-month basis. Some of them will let you do web hosting for free if you don't mind having ads at the bottom or top of the page. So some of the traditional examples I've shown here are GoDaddy or Hostway or your local favorite internet provider. Those are all some of them. If you were in the last session, You saw WordPress being used for a number of Patty Welch's projects, and WordPress is also an extremely valid website, but it takes a little bit of know-how and programming on the front end to make it all work. Prepackaged, we have Google Sites, and I'll actually show you a Square Dance Club that came up in 24 hours on Google Sites. Swear to God. Weebly and Wix are two other very popular ones, and then ISPs such as GoDaddy, ISP by the way is Internet Service Provider, have their own versions of these type of prepackaged website builders to go through. I'm not going to go through reading all the lists because it is in the handout. Basically, if you're not very technical, a prepackaged website is going to be the easiest one for you to use, and it needs to work within your comfort. Most of them have free trials. Find one, try it. If you don't like it, try another one. Nothing says you have to stick with the same one. And we'll go through some of the samples. But just so you can see, this is a traditional web. This is Bill Adler's website. Here's a quick sample of the website that Janine maintains for her employer, the Oregon Healthcare Association. This is WordPress. And here's what it looks like on the back end. So you can, again, it's a lot of menus, and you can pick and choose what you want to operate on, what you want to do with it. This is Temple Squares. They came up in 24 hours after they had a club name on Google Sites, because I did it for them. And that included mailing list and a calendar. This is a Google Calendar, and most websites have a way for you to embed a Google Calendar. I'm very bullish on using Google Calendar because almost everything will embed it. It syncs to mobile devices, it syncs to everything, and most people I've found usually have a Google Calendar somewhere else already so they can combine stuff onto one Google Calendar for multiple groups. It's also a very clear, simple, not junky looking setting. Here's an example of the website that Janine maintains for Tualatin. I'm sorry, Tualatin Timber Squares. And this is done using Wix. And we will go through these live, we will explore them in just a couple minutes. And here's what the back end looks like, which is actually changing things. So little toolbar, you can pick what you want for adding text, you can cut and paste pictures in. This is my Square Dance Articles website, which is done on Weebly. These are all kinds of articles I've accumulated over the years. And this is, again, the back end of that. And so that's the basics. Let's actually switch over to Janine, if she's ready, and if she's not, I can, okay. So, pardon us while we do a very high-tech switchover.
Very high-tech. Help me find the part to put it in.
And a high-tech sound switchover.
Give it a second here. So right here is we have the backside of MailChimp. What you do is you can put in, what I was doing was putting in the email addresses that you guys gave to me so that we can update you with our updated PowerPoint presentation. Now this list is private. It's not going out to anybody. Don't worry, we're not going to send it anything more than what we have already told you. It's just for the PowerPoint. You can individually put in the information here. As you see, you want to make sure that you do have permission to email these people that you've collected their emails from. You can import a list, so if you have them in an Excel sheet, you can do that as well. So the easy thing, MailChimp makes it so easy and wonderful. They have what's called campaigns. So here's a list of recent campaigns that I had done with my club, but we're going to create a new campaign. So we just go right over here. Hold on a second, there we go. So we're just gonna call this our CALLERLAB. CALLERLAB hello. There we go. Our campaign type, it's just gonna be regular. We don't need to do anything funny with it. There we go. We would like to create.
You didn't make a campaign type.
Oh, I didn't? I thought I did. There we go. There. All right, so we picked just a regular campaign. So, who we're going to choose list? I only have 8 of you so far on there, but it's just a test one. So we're going to pick our CALLERLAB list. I do want to give it to everybody in the list. You have options to do as segments of that list. I don't play around with it. I like to keep things as simple as possible. So if I do need a list for my members versus everybody who comes to my club, I just keep separate lists for those people. So keep it as simple as possible. So this list, we're going to do the entire list. All right, so we're gonna do, it wants the subject line. And the reason why we're just walking through this with you is so that you just get an idea of how easy this really is. All right, we did want, it's gonna be from Janine. I can't spell my own name, obviously, look at that. Yeah, I do know my life. I've had that last name for 16 years, hold on. All right, so it's gonna come from our email address. One thing that I do like to do, let's see, and it's not on, must be on the next page. All right, so this gives you tracking information. I have the free version. I haven't paid for anything else. I don't need to. This works for me, and this works for my club, and works for the different callers that I have helped with it. I don't know that many people. But what I do like to do, and I won't do it to this one, is I like to click on this one right here where it says auto post to Facebook. So what I do with my club newsletter, I create it and everything, and there's nothing in my newsletter that is private information. So I want it to already just automatically post to Facebook, and I have people that join my newsletter because they see it on the Facebook and they go, oh, I would like to do that. So I always make sure to click that option. But today is an example, so we won't do that today. You can also auto tweet, yes?
Yeah, this question might be a little
Microphone.
early.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Carl Trzynski, Aurora, Colorado. This question might be a little early for it, but in the one or two MailChimp emails that I've received, I've noticed that it seems to be like they get fancy sometimes. People do it fancy and it's formatted, it's got a picture, and in the first line it says, "Hi, Carl." And is that a function that MailChimp does, or is that something that the actual creator has to do to associate with my email?
Absolutely. So it is going to be something that you put in there. If you put in your email list, you know the name, the first name, last name, and email, then yes, MailChimp will put that function in for you. You do need to insert it, and say, hey, I want to make this a little bit more personal. I want Carl to know that I'm talking to him. So that is something that you do need, if you're getting the emails and you want that function, you do need to put the names in with the emails as well. Sometimes I find that helpful because sometimes people's emails, I have no idea who Goddess Queen is, and so it's like you can't always relate their email to their name. So it is very helpful.
Actually, it's Alan.
It's Alan?
Goddess Queen.
Goddess Queen. Thank you. All right, back on track here. All right, so we are going to choose a layout. Now, they have themes for your layout. Sometimes I look through these themes. Maybe I want a holiday theme, whatnot. Anything that you see on here, it's taking a little bit longer to load with our connection, you can change that the words on there and everything. You can pick one that you like. What I do is I have also saved some of my templates. So, it's coming up. All right, so I had a meeting that was canceled. I had, hey, we got to remember to vote for our state elections, that kind of thing as well. So this one over here that I'm going to choose this theme. This is my club theme right here. Oh, you have a question? Here we go.
If you save your template to their site, does it then become public?
No, it does not. You're actually just saving your own, so it's within your account. It's not going to be private, or not going to be a public account. Now, I'm sure if you got more into it and you wanted to sell MailChimp some feature or some really nice templates you came up with, but we're keeping it simple.
Okay, thank you.
So I put our club logo on here. as well as if I wanted to add something, let's say, you know, I did want to add another picture. So all I do is I take this picture here where it says image, and I just slide it right in. Now if I had another image, you know, I would just drop an image into that. So you just click, drag it over, drop it right in, okay? You can hit browse as well to be able to look in your files to see which pictures you have. I do recommend, if you are taking pictures from the internet, you know, for like clip art or whatnot, you will see pictures that have little squiggly marks, watermarks on them. You may not use those unless you have purchased them. So that is one thing to keep in mind. So a lot of here's some of our, like I did this soup fellowship. It was a free clip art that I was able to save from the internet, you know, different things. So you can put the different topics that you're having in here. This is the schedule, you know, I give here. What I did, let me close this one. This over here, I just needed a boxed text that I wanted to put in. And if you know, see, you can change the color in it, you know, with the style and the settings. And it's really something that you just want to play around with. So if you wanted to change the font or whatnot. So, but since everybody knows that this is a test, please, you can look at it in your email, but no judgment, since we're skipping a little bit more here. So let's say that I am all done, you know, with this newsletter, you know, and I say, well, here's one that I did too, is I added something in there because people were saying, now how did I do spin chain through again? Well, I put it in our newsletter as one of the highlighted calls for the week, you know. So let's go on. Let's say we're all done with the newsletter. I go ahead, hit next. Let's see, I've got my list done. That's great. I have my subject list done. So MailChimp kind of goes down and it checks the things that, you know, it thinks you're done with. It does say, hey, you forgot these few things, whether you wanted a footnote in there or the social cards. But let's say I don't want it. It's really simple. Now I can go ahead and send this email. Let's say it's all done. All you do is hit send. And if you like the shaking monkey hand, am I ready? You know, it acts like it's nervous. And it says you're about to send it to 8 subscribers. And I just send now. And that's it. It's really, MailChimp is one of the simplest ones I have found. I've used several different ones. I highly recommend them. Like Alan said, we're not making money off of MailChimp, but it is one that I've used for my clubs and everything. Did anybody, I know I went through it really fast, but it really is that simple to do it. So I do have some questions that I'd love to answer. Here. Make sure your name and where you're from.
My name is Claudia Littlefair from Strathmore, Alberta. So can I upload from my address book in my email account? Can I just upload all those addresses? Or do I have to put them in individually?
So you're asking, now, are you asking, do you have them in like an Excel sheet or? Oh, Alan might have a little bit more info.
In general, it depends where your address book is. Most of the online address books, such as Gmail or Yahoo, allow you to download, and you can download your address book and put it into an Excel spreadsheet and kind of massage it into the exact form MailChimp wants, which I think is just first name, last name, email address in its most basic form. Ah, we'll have a look at it.
Let's create a list. Oh, and what's the name?
Unfortunately, in this topic, the most frequent answer is, it depends.
Sorry. Oh, it needs a nap. Oh, sorry.
Don't be nervous, we're all watching you type.
I got to type in.
You're among friends.
Oh, good grief. Check your entry and treasure.
As I say, when somebody breaks down a square, don't worry, nobody noticed.
Well,
Hardly anybody noticed.
all right. Let's check your entry. Info, email address, info. when you're creating a list, one of the things that MailChimp likes to do is have you put in there, why am I on your list? So this is something that you just remind people saying, hey, you're taking our classes and you gave us our email or gave us your email list. This is why you're receiving this information. Because a lot of times people wonder, why am I getting this? Why does this pertain to me? And so that's what it was asking me for. So. All right. So here you have no contacts because it's a brand new list. We do want to add contacts. I can either add one subscriber at a time or I can import contacts. So I can create it from a file that I have. Here's all the 3 different ones that they give you. The CSV text file, which is also an Excel spreadsheet, basically. You can copy and paste, and as well as you can import from your Google contacts or any of Salesforce, Zendesk, and the others. Does that answer that question?
Mm-hmm.
It does.
It does answer the question, but you have more. Hold on.
It's okay.
Can you get a hard copy of who all the contacts got your email after it's sent?
So you're asking, what is the options, or how do you know did somebody open your email?
No,
Or did they receive the email?
just a printed list of everyone who got the email.
So a printed list of everybody who got the email. So it's going to be whoever you put in that list, and you can, let's see if I can go back, return to dashboard. Hold on a second. Let's view my contacts. So we want to, that's on that list. So let me pull up, here's our members only list. I have 18 subscribers on the members only. And so if you see here, you have your email, it has everybody up there, your name, email, all that kind of stuff. So is that but you're wanting to know if you can print it out?
Yeah, you know what, I'll look into it.
Okay,
This
because
is great, thank you.
You see the little button that says export list?
Oh.
If you click on export list, you can export it to a file you can print out.
There you go. Sorry, I didn't see the export. I was like, where's print? You know? All right, I know that there was another question. Was there another question out there?
Done. Covered.
So we're going to switch over again. So one of the points that Janine made was when you're using images, you have to use them very carefully. It frustrates me that I am faster than my computer. There we go. So this is a Google search. You can search for images on Google. And one of the things you can do is called an advanced image search. If you put advanced image search into the search line, it'll tell you how to get there. So what you do is let's say you want to search for square dancing, and then you scroll all the way down to where it says usage rights. And usage rights, by default, not filtered by license, means it will have commercial images that are for sale, it will have images that anybody can use, and you have to decide what you want to use. So normally, I would come down to where it says free to use or share, because I'm not, as a square dancer or a caller or a club board member, I'm not doing this commercially. So free to use or share, and I click on advanced search, and here are images of square dancing. If I had, in all of these, none of these have squigglies, all of these should be safe to use, because they are specifically marked in what's called metadata as not being commercial images. They're not for sale. Let me go ahead and repeat that search, and I'll tell it to include everything. Not filtered by license. and we'll see a slightly different set of images than we did before. And I'm not seeing any squiggly marks so far. But trust me, if you do this long enough, whatever image is the perfect image will have squiggly marks. So while we're here, let's go through a couple of different website types. This is Bill Eiler's website. This is a very traditional website. This was coded for him by his partner, Danny Lee. And it has a welcome page, has a biography, talks about where he's been a club caller, talks about the conventions he's been on, what fly-ins he's done. And I like this not because it's particularly stylish, it's actually very old-fashioned by today's internet standards, but because the content is something I think every caller should have on his or her website. You should let people know who you are, what is your biography. You may want to include some square dance resources. In this case, Bill is also a line dance instructor, and he likes listing line dances. He has other general resources like his hexagons page. Actually, West Coast is Bill, East Coast is Clark Baker. And this is where I wish Bill had done this a little differently. He does have calling schedule up here. I would just like to have him have calling schedule and booking in the same place. When I click on calling schedule, nothing happens. Ideally, you'd have your calling schedule up here as well. And then he also has publicity photos, and every so often I'll publish an article of his on the call sheet, and I'll say, give me a new photo. He'll say, go get one off the website. And so here are his photos, and also he has publicity text. So this is a lovely touch because this way you can tell people as a caller what you would like them to say and let them modify it as they need to. Any questions on this?
What is that one built on?
This is a custom-coded website.
Okay.
But as you'll see with some of the other websites that I'll be showing you, these tabs aren't that difficult to replicate across any of the different platforms. The question was, what is this built on? And this is a custom website. This is Temple Squares, and basically all of this, the cherry blossoms are actually a pre-built template from Google. All we had to do was upload their image, and then their tabs run down the side. So there's their anniversary dance, future conventions, some of their newsletters, and this is Google Groups, also called, and the website part is called Google Sites, and that's sites.google.com. And we do have this in the handout. You can click on Temple Squares and you can see where all of this goes to and try it yourself. The Google Sites took me about an hour to set up. Most of it was just hunting for the content. Tualatin. I'm so sorry. Now, I'm from Illinois, where we have towns like Paris and Peking, but they call it Pekin. So here's Tualatin Square's website. This is built in Wix, and I'm going to ask Janine to go through and show you the back end of this website. But again, classes are on here. I love the fact that there's a PayPal link on this site. So if you want to buy a Class Club badge, here you go, right now. Never underestimate the importance of an impulse buy. If you've ever used Amazon, you know what I'm talking about. I love it when people embed things like PayPal on their website because as a dancer, I'm a busy person. And the one thing I have pleaded, begged, and screamed all of my clubs, and I belong to 9 or 10 clubs at last count. Long history there. And I'm still a member, they didn't kick me out or anything. But I keep asking them, please give me a way to pay online, to pay easily with PayPal or something, or use a debit card or a credit card. And most of them at this point do. I have one club left, which I have to write a paper check for. And the reason I keep yelling at them is if you have to write a check, especially if you're younger than the average age in this room, including myself in this, you're going to put it off or not worry or not think about it, and it's going to take you longer to renew. If you have a way for people to pay with PayPal or something similar, you're going to get a higher renewal rate and a higher recruiting rate for paying for classes. So kudos. Dances. Here's the dance schedule. listed very nicely. This could also be done via a Google Calendar if you like. It's whatever works for your club and for your group. This took me maybe an hour to set up and then 3 days to upload all the content because there was a lot of content. I've written a lot of articles over the years, and I mean everything from, I've written the scripts for 3 fun badge tours. They're all up here. And these are all PDF files that I basically simply uploaded, and here it is. Here's one of the PDFs. So this is one of the actual documents, which opens in a separate tab. So now OHCA's website is WordPress. This is a heavy duty, this is more of a commercial website, but still I thought it was worth seeing. It's beautifully laid out. You have everything right across the top that you need, and as you go through, all the tabs show you what you need to know. So what kind of reimbursement, Medicaid, Medi-Cal, or managed care? And again, this type of site is not limited to WordPress. We just wanted to show you and give you an idea of what you can do with some of your websites. So with that, I'm going to hand this back over to Janine with our high-tech monitor switching, so she can show you how 12 Square's website's put together.
I feel like I should say some magic words or something like that.
I'll do that.
All right. So this, like you said, it really took an hour of my time to put it together, because I actually did this on my breaks at work. You know, I was able to just do a few minutes at a time and put it together. They do have layouts that you can choose from. This one was cheery for me. One of the things that I have noticed on some Square Dance callers, I know you guys love to wear black, but it doesn't come across well on a website. It looks very dreary, you know? So one of the things, there's some club callers that they pick, their themes are just very dark, you know, the backgrounds and everything. I personally picked something lighter, so it looked more fun, something more inviting. Over here on the sides, you know, you can choose, here's your backgrounds. You know, if I wanted to change it, you know, and have bananas across the, you know, or whatever it is. You know, they do have several, and I'm not gonna hit the publish button because my club would be upset. You know, like, why did you put bananas on our, you know, website? So let's say if I wanted to add things. So he talked about adding the different, let's see, here we have I was looking to see where I got the PayPal. So you can add different things. There's so many options on here. Again, I like to keep it simple. You can put different apps. Here we go. Here's some free apps that you can use. You know, Wix events, Instagram feed, all these different things that you can put on the pages. And it's so simple. You just click, drag, put it on there. It's a page that you create. So I put our flyers that's coming up. All I did was, it was a JPEG. I pulled it off of my desktop and I just clicked on it, drug it, dropped it on there. Again, I like to keep things as simple as possible because I don't have a lot of time, you know, to put onto this. Again, you can add all these different boxes on here. It's just a click and drag. It makes it very simple. I did want to put out there, my email address, I believe, is on the handouts as well. Any of you are welcome to contact me, that I'm willing to be able to help you personally if you have a website or you have questions beyond this, because I know that we're giving a general view of how we do it, but sometimes you need a little bit more personal help on how do I find this button, you know, whatnot. So, and I know not everybody wants to ask their questions now. Is there anything in particular that you'd like me to show them on this back end? So I did, he talked about the tabs for this website. I have them up here. Let's see. So I have them as pages, and this is, I can always add another one. So right now I have just the 4, but if I wanted to add another one, all right, that's all I do. Let's see, here we go. Oops. You just, that's all you do is add it, and you just go from there. from just playing around with the different pages. So, and let's see, there we go. Let's say the layout on it. I'm going to ask it to go ahead and go with the standard layout. And that's all you do, is you just play with it and you just tell them, if you want to go ahead and, duplicate something, you get another page going on. So let's say I'm working on that page, and this one now, it has the background. It does go across all of your pages so that you have a branding going on. But then, in the center, you have what the content you want to be. Whether if I want to add a box or a button, you have your themed buttons, and let's say I want to call it something like, I'm going to put another CALLERLAB thing here. Let's say I want to add a link. So I put this button here. All you do to add a link, and I say I want to go to the web address. Well, if I just want to add CALLERLAB, .org, or is it dot what? Oh, I'm missing a W. All right. All right. I don't know if it's .org. Okay. So once that's done and I hit publish, all they have to do is click on that button. That's how easy it is to create a button.
Any questions so far on just a sample of what it's like? And then you may have a simpler site you want to publish, or a more complex site. Any other questions so far? Let's switch again.
All right.
Note to the executive committee, we'd like to have something other than handheld mics for next year's convention. So I had shown you Temple Square's website as one example of a Google site. Not all Google sites look the same. So here's Temple Square's website, but this is Andy Shore's website, which looks nothing like Google, like Temple Square's. And this is also a Google site. It's extremely flexible. Here's Andy's calling schedule, and interestingly enough, he is also using Google Calendar. So I can look at a month, I can look at a week, and this is embeddable. He just embedded this, so this is already in Google. Similarly, this is my page for my articles, which is done in Weebly, but here's my professional site, which looks nothing like the other site, which is also done in Weebly. So it's not like any one of these types of sites has only certain types of designs. They all have a wide variety of designs. Now, there are many other things we could certainly talk about with this session, and one of the questions they've asked the moderators is, should we do the session again next year? We were basically assigned the session and said, talk about email. Email? What about email? Just talk about e-communications. There's a lot more we could talk about, and we would like to have your feedback on your critique sheets, what else you want to know in more detail. We'll be happy to come back as long as you want us to every year, if you want, to talk about maybe just publishing websites or just email. We could talk about how do you reserve a domain name? How do you reserve mysquares.com or whatever it is? We could talk about basics of internet security, all kinds of things. We're happy to be a resource for you. We just need to know what you would like us to talk about. Now, that's everything we had prepared for e-communications. What topics or questions do you have that we have not gone over so far, that you expected us to go over when you looked at the session and said e-communications? We've answered all your questions.
Here.
Ah!
How did I get designated as the walker?
You jumped up.
I'm Rachel Schlitter from Cary, North Carolina. I have a question going back to MailChimp. Once you set up your list for your club, can anybody else use that list? So if a member of the club wanted to send a message to everybody else in the club, can they do that through MailChimp?
Only if you give them permission and give them the password, to your MailChimp account. I personally don't give my club members permission. I love them to death, but I like to protect my emails and who uses and has access to that.
One follow-up question. So do you give them an access or a way to communicate with each other?
What I like to do is I ask them to send stuff to me that I can put into the newsletter if it's something going out to the general public. Otherwise, our club, we actually communicate a lot via group text. So my phone's been blowing up this whole time, from different members, talking about our upcoming dams.
Linda Jo Meyer from the Seattle area. So when these MailChimp things go out, does it go out like a BCC with no addresses shown?
Correct.
Okay.
The answer was correct. It does not show the email addresses on it.
So if I wanted to send out an email, like a covering letter with an attachment, and the attachment being a newsletter, does that work through Chimp? Like your newsletter was right there, there.
And you're wanting to add an attachment to it.
Send an attachment.
I have other resources at work to do it, so that's how I know how to create those links outside of that. Alan, do you have an answer about adding attachments?
Depending on the program or site you use, attachment size can be limited. Since there is a matter of security with attachments, sending out attachments is often prohibited or is often seen as someone trying to spam you with what's called malware or viruses, because viruses look at attachments. So in general, for most mailings, it's preferable, rather than sending an attachment, send a link to the attachment. You put the actual attachment on your website.
So you can actually turn that PDF into a JPEG or save it as a JPEG and put it on your website if that's something that you want people to say.
Or you can save stuff as a PDF. You might have noticed in my articles, all the articles are in PDF form. And I happen to have a plugin in my browser, so when I click on a PDF, it comes up right away. But that can be downloaded, it can be printed, it can be whatever, it can be
So could I
mailed.
send a PDF as an attachment? Or
I would actually suggest you put the PDF on your website and insert the link to it in the email. The reason is a lot of attachments with non-commercial email systems automatically flag a message as being suspect. They're trying to get something across. I have a virus in it, and it's usually easier to send them a URL, which is the thing up here. So if I actually wanted to send somebody the URL, that's the actual URL to that PDF. And you can usually disguise the URL so it has a more friendly name if you like, or you can use a different program. This happens to have very complex URLs, which is Uniform Resource Locator, just a fancy way of saying web address.
I'm glad he's here to tell you exactly what that was. Did you have a question?
Well, so I got your email.
Oh, hold on.
It has to be open line.
Actually, that's a very good point. One of the things too is I have a Gmail account. So it does recommend that you not use Gmail account. All of my members, I have asked them to, add me and everything as well, so they don't have a problem receiving it. But it in MailChimp there, it tells you what kind of email is better to have, because the Gmail is more times than not, people use that as spam, emails. So if you have, let's see, Alan, what's your email? So mine at work is at ohca.com. That one is going to go through more, better than the ones that are at Google or at Google.
And this is where using your own domain name, tarletonsquares.org, for example. Yes, did I get that? I didn't remember correctly. Is preferable when many so I'm an IT person when I'm not playing a Bingo Square Dance Caller. And I do a lot of anti-spam systems. And anything from Gmail or Yahoo or especially AOL is often thrown into spam folders or given a high spam score because people assume you're a scammer using a temporary account trying to get something across. So if you have the opportunity, and it costs between 10 and 20 bucks a year, it's not a huge cost. Register your own domain name, whatever your Square Club is, .org, or your caller. I'm alanhurst.com, frankly. There's .com, .net, .org. Register that and set up an email program, and there are a number of ways you can do that. It might be another good session, how to set up a customized email address as a caller's or as a club. And you use that as the from, and that will help keep your mail out of the spam folder. And there are also, some people whose email programs, because you can't control what people are using. All you can do is control what you send them. And it is very easy for somebody using, for example, AOL, to click "this is spam" rather than "file this in my inbox." In fact, the AOL client had the spam button right next to the file button for many years. And I had a number of customers still using AOL who would keep marking me as a spamster, which was highly annoying. So you can't control what people do. If they mark you as spam by mistake, there's not much you can do about it.
Do you have another question? Oh, I just want to remind everybody, state your name and where you're from.
Misha Schlitter, again, still in Cary, North Carolina. We actually did what you did, which is that we have our own domain name for our own business, for our Cary Crossroads Club, for our Hescott Spurs Club, and the same thing still happens where we're flagged as spam, even though we have our own domain name, so that doesn't always work. But I was just wondering, your MailChimp, it's completely independent of your own domain, right? So that we wouldn't have that same problem if we were to send out for mail? Because right now we have to send like 10 addresses at a time in a single mail, just so we don't get flagged as spam.
So you're asking is how many can you send at a time? Is what I'm understanding the question.
Through
MailChimp.
Right. So
Okay.
I just want to make sure MailChimp is completely independent of our own personal email. It's being sent out.
All right, so it's asking, she's asking if it is independent of your own email, so it's not coming from your account. That is correct, it is not coming from your account, it is saying this is who it is from. MailChimp does have a high, a rate of being able to go to the inboxes, but like you said too, there's many times, it really depends on the server of who's receiving it. I can tell you at my company, I send out thousands of emails every day, and we have members who have been members for 20 years, and sometimes they get my emails, sometimes they don't. Sometimes all of a sudden they decide, their server decides, oh, no, Janine Alexander spam. We're just gonna slip that in, So it really depends on who is receiving it,
And there's a little more. So part of having your own domain name is controlling what are called your DNS, your domain name system records. And these are the records that tell other people on the internet where to find your website, where to find your email server. One of those types of records is called an SPF record, or Sender Policy Framework. If you have not established an SPF record in your domain name system listings, you will almost always be marked as spam by a majority of recipients. SPF is basically an email validation system that says any email coming from my domain name is going to come from this server or this server or this server and no place else. So don't take the message if it comes from somebody else. So in this case, if you're going to use MailChimp, you would have an SPF record that says, you know what, for ohca.org, yes, and you would just give it the MailChimp addresses. The MailChimp servers are all going to send email from our account, and those are okay, and nobody else can send email. And that way the recipient knows, oh, this came from MailChimp, that's okay. This didn't, I'm going to trash that one. And this is why we're talking about having additional sessions, because each one of these topics could be an hour on its own. And we didn't want to, bore you all to death. Yet. Other questions? Here, please, have a seat. After all, we're both wearing heels today.
Priscilla Davis from the Spokane, Washington area. When I walked in, I think you were introducing each other, and if I'm not mistaken, it said you used this to create your own club. Can you explain a little bit what you did and how you did that?
So one of the sites that we haven't covered, because as I was flying out, I said, oh my gosh, we forgot about this one site. It's how I built my club, you know? It's Next Door Neighbor. Are you guys familiar with Next Door Neighbor? There are some of you who are not. What it is a social media for your neighborhood, you know? So
Nextdoor.com, right?
I believe so. Nextdoorneighbor.com or nextdoor.com. I think it is next. There you go. All right. So you go in and you enter your address, and it puts you together in this little social media network of everybody who lives around you. So within my town, there's 6 different little pods within that area, you know, of the different parts of town. So I went in and I started advertising on Nextdoor Neighbor saying, hey, we're gonna have a community dance. I'd love to see you there, you know, and I would give these little snippets each week, and I would actually gather email addresses from people. And I said, if you're interested, please give me your emails so that I can put you on our list. And then I incorporated that into my MailChimp, that I would send out little tidbits, you know, here and there, little teasers. I can tell you, I created my club that way. That's where almost all of my members came from, was Nextdoor Neighbor. I know that Daryl Clendenin has also created a club, not a club, but he's created a dance night that has been very successful, that there's no angels, and it's all new people. And I believe he said he has 2 squares of just new people that keep bringing in more new people, all based on Nextdoor Neighbor, because they all live close together. It's not Facebook where I can talk to somebody in Australia, because I know that, you know, she would love to come to my dances, but she lives in California, you know, so I see her on Facebook, you know, and she helps promote me as well. But Nextdoor Neighbor is more close to home, and you're going to get the person down the street, you know, from you that lives close to the Grange, rather than somebody that lives over in Sweden, you know, who says, oh, that looks great, that would be fun to go to. But yes, that's how I built my club, is with Nextdoor Neighbor. And so that's a very successful website. Do we have any other questions?
We've answered all your questions about
We are so
e-communications.
thorough. No.
Wow, we're good.
Better, our brains are full.
Your brains are full. Again, on your critiques, one of the things that we discussed extensively once we got over the shock of being told we were going to present, voluntold, we were voluntold, was this is too big a topic for a single session. So if there are specific aspects of e-communications, whether it's using Nextdoor Neighbor to build a club, whether it's how to get an internet domain name and set up anti-spam with SPF, maybe it's how to do a specific website, or maybe it's a discussion of what should be on your website. We'd be happy to do it, and there are other tech-friendly people in CALLERLAB as well, we're not the only ones. Please let the EC know in your critiques. We would be happy to do this or any other type of session you want next year. No other questions? Then I think we're done. Wow, bang, right on time, 3:15. Thank you.